This is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1, and this is more or less a rather interesting Friday. This is a little bit after 9 o'clock in the morning. I am on my way to the Orlando airport, as I always am, and it would appear, barring any changes, that by sometime late today, Joe Biden is going to be the next president of the United States. He will be the 46th president of the United States. And this is going to cause a lot of people to be angry on both sides. And there's going to be payback. Now, that payback is not going to be completely from who you expect, and the target of that payback is one that should have been expected and is going to happen. And the target of the payback is QAnon. Because now a lot of people are going to want to know if it was a disinformation from QAnon and some of the other groups out there, and even, once again, Russia, that caused things to happen the way they did in this election cycle and in other events that have happened over the past several years, that they're going to conduct hearings, investigations, and there are plans underway right now to engage in payback against the QAnons. QAnons made, and are continue to make, a lot of enemies. There are people that are really pissed off at QAnon. And so they're gonna make them pay, and they're gonna make them pay dearly. A lot of people are gonna go to jail. A lot of people are gonna be humiliated as the resentment and anger builds up over the next few weeks, maybe a month or two, maybe a month or three, that they are going to make those who supported QAnon pay for their actions. And there's one group in particular that is going to pay dearly. And this is a group from Minnesota, Arkansas, Iowa, Ohio, Utah, Oregon, or Washington, and elsewhere. What I suppose you would call the American QAnon. Because without the support of one man, Mr. Trump, QAnon is going to fall apart. Trump is not going to go to QAnon and say, hey, help me out of this mess, Get your troops together, let's turn over what's happened, let's keep me in here for a second term. That's not going to happen. He's not going to QAnon. He's going to the court. He's going to court, or at least he thinks he's going to court. But I think that option is steadily evaporating. Because now, the powers that be, the powers that actually run this country, and it ain't no damn deep state, are going to have to regroup and decide how they're going to move forward. And these groups are going to decide, well, maybe the way we chose in the past wasn't such a bright idea, and we're going to abandon what got us into this mess. And it's going to be groups like Q. They're going to fall by the wayside. Now, I suspect that Q is going to try and come up with some excuse for why things happen the way they did. And they can get on Twitter and all these other social media accounts and YouTube and all that and whine and cry for a few months, but their power is quickly eroding, such as it was. They weren't that powerful to begin with, but they did a lot of damage. They allowed a lot of misinformation to be put out there. You know, about fish people, reptile people, Pizzagate, this gate, that gate. And like any other false narrative campaign that's ever been done in this country, it eventually falls apart. And it is now going to fall apart because all those promises that Q made, and in some cases continues to make, are being torn down. They're being proved as insurmountable, impossible, unable to fulfill. And so QAnon, your days are numbered. And believe me, they're numbered in ways that you would not expect. It's your so-called allies that are going to turn against you. Hell, even Trump is going to turn against you. Because you didn't do any good. He's going to blame you at some point for losing the election, because he's going to say you were actually working against him by pretending to work for him, by coming up with all this foolish nonsense and tricking the public into voting against him. That's a tactic that's already being talked about. So your own leader that you worship, that said that you were going to do all these things, and also were supposed to be the one that reported to the third in line to dispense his media contributions, is going to be abandoned. He's going to say, they did it. They were working against me secretly by making the Republicans look foolish, by making me look foolish, coming up with all these false rumors and fiction, and the public fell for it. That's the direction we're going here. And the Republicans are going to abandon them because they have no use for them. QAnon has no power. It's a paper tiger. They're just a bunch of idiots that get on social media and spew bullshit. So the Republicans aren't going to help. They're going to turn their backs on it because the Republicans go where the money is. They're going to go to the millionaires and billionaires for help. They're not going to go to QAnon. And it's actually the same with Trump. I mean, he didn't go to QAnon for help. He went to the millionaires and the billionaires and the foreign powers. So all this talk and all this hype from QAnon, it didn't do a damn thing. Trump lost. You know, Biden is likely going to be the president of the United States come January. You know, we will know better at midnight tonight. But I would dare say that Biden is our next president. We're about to have the first woman as vice president of the United States, and we're going to have the first woman of color as vice president of the United States. So that's rather remarkable. And so there's a collection of people. There's a collection of people that wanted Hillary in instead of Trump, then are angry, and are beginning to realize that it was people like QAnon that are responsible. Now, I mentioned on Twitter that if an event has taken place that not too many people looked at, it kind of has been washed over in the news as we watch as the votes come trickling in and turning the tide in favor of Biden for the next president of the United States. And that is this: Vladimir Putin is going to quit a year from now. And why this is surprising is because people expected Putin to be in power for a long, long time. He had made moves to where he was going to be president of Russia for as long as he felt like. And because of his unique qualifications and unique point of view of the United States, a lot of what happened in the two election cycles, the previous one and the one that's occurring right now, was influenced by Russia. They worked to confuse us, to put both sides against each other, so on and so forth, to cause turmoil. And that is now going to come out. Because Putin is not well liked. The nature of the Russian election system is it is difficult for an opposition to come along and run against Putin. They die, they get poisoned, have to go to Germany and get cured. But just like what caused the breakup of the Soviet Union, there have been things going on in Russia, and people haven't been paying attention. And the pandemic is one of them. You know, Russia's not having a good time as far as trying to beat this virus. They're trying just as hard as they can to beat it, and they have mandated mask wearing and stuff to try and beat it. But Putin got in something that's a little bit different. He's got Parkinson's disease. And because he has Parkinson's disease, he has to step down because it is going to be a disaster for him if he stays in power and still have the Parkinson's disease. And so, doing the one thing he needs to do, he's stepping down. This is going to create an election cycle of its own. And things are going to happen where Russia is about to find out what it's like to have their public confused, to have their election system disrupted, and so on and so forth. And it's not necessarily going to be the United States that does it. The hackers are already lining up in the United States to go after Russia simply because they feel like it. And so Russia's going to have the same problem that we've had for the past 6 years. And they're not going to like it. Because it's not going to be the governments that do it. It's going to be a group called the White Hats. And the White Hats is a hacker group that has been working behind the scenes for just this occasion. They've been going after Q, and in some cases they've been going after Anonymous, and now they're going to go after Russia. They're going to go after Russia, they're going to have to go after China, they're going to have to go after Korea's, and they're going to go after Iran. Because these are the countries that have been giving us fits for such a long time. And they're going to say, well, if you guys can pull this crap, we can pull it too. I'm not a part of the White Hats. I don't know that much about them. I do know people that are within the structure, and this is how I've been getting my information for the past 3 weeks. This is a growing movement. It's a movement of people on the left, people in the center, and people on the right. Believe it or not, it's a coalition. Because people said, we're going to put our politics aside, and we're going to fight for truth, justice, and the American way. We're going to say we're going to level the playing field, as it were. And so you may not hear the White Hats under the White Hats name or banner, but you're going to hear their actions soon enough. Because they're going to start in a big way. They've been waiting for the right time to go into action. And when they found out that Vladimir Putin is not going to be around, they decided it's time to get started because they want to get their chess pieces in place, so to speak. They're playing the long game here. They're going to get moving and get everything in place to where they can methodically, thoroughly, and completely pay back everybody that screwed everything up. And that's going to be Russia and all these other countries, but it's also going to be QAnon. Because The white hats have never liked QAnon. They don't like the lies that QAnon has spewed. They don't like the lies that QAnon has interfered with for all these years. And so anyone that is or has been affiliated with Q is going to have a serious problem. Now, those Q out there that have been harassing me and others, none of us are part of the white hats. Not Monty, not Agent 19, not me, not the lawyer from Florida. None of us are part of the white hats. The white hats is a group that's been around for quite a long time, even before Anonymous came about. This is a group of computer experts, hackers, and so forth that try to fight the black hats, as they like to be categorized. The troublemakers, the vandals, the crooks, the scammers. And the white hats are kind of like Anonymous. There's no structure, there's no leader, but within, there are people that are more influential than others that are part of this big group. And this group is going to use the tools of the black hats, Anonymous, and QAnon to fight back. They've studied them. They've studied their methods. They studied what little structure there is, and they have worked to identify each and every QAnon out there. They didn't engage with the various QAnon cells. They simply sat back and watched and gathered information, did the doxings necessary to be ready to go. So the QAnons, from the bottom up, are not going to know what hit them. Because one day things are going to start happening and they're not going to be able to figure out why, or who, or when. It's just going to start happening. And there's no preparing for it because the QAnons aren't going to know from what direction this comes. Is this going to happen? I don't even know. I have an indication. But the white hats aren't like QAnon. They don't do their little number puzzles. They don't make cryptic messages on social media, and they don't brag. They just do. Because all of a sudden, shit's going to start happening. You know, people are going to say, "What the hell happened?" You know, there's going to be news reports about this thing happening, that thing, but they're not going to be able to figure it out. You know, maybe the government will figure it out. Maybe CIA and FBI and all these will be able to figure it out. But the thing of it is, these people aren't going to be breaking the law. They're going to do it legally, for the most part. I mean, there's a few they're going to go out on their own and they're going to do things, but they're going to take the risk. And this is an international effort, by the way. Now, while the group that I'm talking about, that I'm aware of, are mainly United States and Canadian citizens, there are other countries involved. There are white hats in other countries that are fed up with this. All this right-wing movement going on, these people saying that they're going to come in and they're going to overturn the progress that have been done in these various countries for the last 50 to 100 years. They're going to say, not here, you're not. You know, we're going to get your shit and we're going to throw it right back at you. You know, we're going to kick you out the door. So there is going to be a civil war of sorts. It's going to be the white hats versus the black hats. It's going to be something like the Resistance Fights Back, the New Hope, as you would see in Star Wars. And unlike QAnon and Anonymous and all that, these people play the long game. They're in this for four-dimensional chess, going against people that play checkers. They're going to They're going to fight the good fight. You may not hear about it on CNN or ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, but you'll hear about it. I may talk about it from time to time, but it's going to be there. Payback's a bitch. And those that started this QAnon nonsense should have realized that if they piss enough people off, and they piss enough of the powerful people enough, there's going to be a payback. And that payback's going to be hard. Because there is a limit to QAnon's effectiveness. And they played the short game. They didn't anticipate the tide turning against them. They didn't have a plan in place for when people get angry enough that they're going to start coming after them. You know, and it's not going to be, you're not going to be taken to court. The FBI is not going to come knocking on your door and take you away. At least not in this instance. But your lives are going to be destroyed anyway. Your QAnon itself is going to be destroyed. It's going to be destroyed with the truth. It's going to be destroyed by people who are mad, who are fed up, who are tired of waiting, and they're going to do something about it. So that day's coming. Now, on the other side of the coin, there is payback of a different sort. Now, President Trump is pissing a lot of people off himself. And it's not the Democrats, not the liberals. The liberals are sitting back watching all this with fascination. It's the Republicans. Republicans are pissed off at him because he won't shut up. He's making things worse. All these declarations about he's going to fight, he's not going to concede, he's not going to do this, he's not going to do that. If he goes through with his threats and does not concede when it's obvious that he's not going to win, the Republicans are going to turn their back on him. They already have. And I find it fascinating also that Trump is talking about coming back in 2024 and running again. That he's going to come back. He's going to regroup, probably start running for president the 1st of February and start all over again, having rallies all over the place, getting everybody all riled up. But he's going to find that's not going to happen. Because by the time he would get reorganized to start running again in 2024, all the bad things that were predicted were going to happen are going to happen. Because it's going to take time to get things back in shape. You know, we're going to have 500,000, maybe 1 million people dead from this virus. They're going to have the economic damage that happened. We're going to have all kinds of evictions and bankruptcies and unemployment, and people are going to get mad. And the people that are going to get blamed are the Republicans because they supported Trump for so long. And so the Republicans, in order to save face, are going to tell Donald J. Trump, bye-bye. And there's one thing that's going to happen to Trump that's going to spell his doom, and that's called a primary. Donald J. Trump isn't automatically going to go out and say, okay, I'm running for president, I'm the leader of the Republican Party, you know, nominate me, install me again, and let's go unopposed. That ain't happening this time. There's going to be people out for blood. There's people that are going to be out to run for president that think they can repair the damage, that they can come in and say, okay, I'm going to come in, I'm going to fix this. I'll take Biden out in 2024, and I'll fight to restore the damage that the libs did. So there's going to be someone out there to replace Trump. And it's not going to be some right-wing ring nut. It's going to be someone that's probably just a little bit right of center that's going to come in and try to take over. And they're not going to listen to the QAnons or the Proud Boys or any of these other idiots out there. They're going to listen to them billionaires and trillionaires and PACs and so forth that are going to finance their reign as president. And a lot of this stuff is going to stop. The right extremist agenda is going to stop. The left extremist agenda is going to stop. Everybody throws around the S word, say, oh, we're going to have socialism because Biden won. I really doubt that. Because Biden's going to play in the long game. Because there's midterm elections coming up 2 years from now. So he's got about a year and a half, give or take, to get what he wants through the legislature to show the public that he's the man that there's not only deserves a second term, but he deserves Democrats that will help him do what's necessary to straighten everything out. And so we're going to have that battle. And the extreme right of the Republican Party is going to suffer for it, as is going to be the extreme left. So this country is going to more or less stay in the middle. There's going to be bumps where we go in one direction or another, either because of rulings out of the Supreme Court or because there are certain things that people want badly enough that they have to pitch a little bit to the left or right to get what the people want. But that's where we're going. Because the people are going to start paying more attention to what's going on. We have a new generation coming up. And those of us in our age bracket are going to have to learn to step aside and let the new kids on the block take over. I mean, we need to enjoy our retirement. You know, yes, we'll vote for who we want to vote for and everything, but let the kids run the show. It's their car to drive now. You know, we're too old to drive the car. It's time for the kids to drive the car. It's their future more than it is ours. Because you have people that are 70, 80, 90 years old. We're not going to be around very long. And it's going to be the young ones, people 20, 30, 40, 50 years old that are going to run the show. And it's going to be up to them. If they want to go socialist, they'll go socialist. If they want to go off to the right fringes, they'll go to the right fringes. It's their ball game. They're going to make the rules. They're going to do what they want to do. But in the end, I think people are going to be bright enough to realize that QAnon was not the answer. It never was the answer. It was just a bunch of idiots making fairy tales up on a day in and day out basis that spin the weirdest crap. And there's just those gullible few out there that went for it. And they thought, and they gambled, that President Trump was the man that was going to be able to help them become something more than they really are. That they were going to be this all-powerful fringe group that came out of nowhere. And they're about to find out that the real world doesn't work that way. That they don't run this show. They never did. They were used and they were played with by people with a lot more intelligence and a lot more power than they had. And they were a useful toy to play their game. And when they found that the toy didn't live up to its promise, they threw it away. And so, those of you who are in QAnon right now, you might as well just sit back and let it happen. Because you ain't going to be able to stop it. You're not going to be able to get on YouTube or your little blogs or any of that, make your little cartoons, accuse ordinary people of things for very much longer. Because this stuff, you're being watched. Not only are you being watched by the authorities, you are being watched by people in power. You're being watched by people that are part of that deep state. It really doesn't exist, but in a way it does, because there are people running this country that are very, very powerful. And these very, very powerful people are not happy with QAnon. Because they're blaming QAnon for a lot of damage that's been done to what they wanted to do. QAnon cost a lot of people a lot of money. And not bloggers on YouTube or retired truck drivers that shoot off their mouth, or ordinary people, or a guy that makes weird movies. But millionaires, billionaires, other people of power that don't like the cost that they've had to bear because of QAnon, the Proud Boys, and some of these other odd groups that have sprung up over the last couple of years. And they're going to say enough is enough. And they're going to use their power to wield control. I mean, it started just before the election. These big power brokers, the big companies, they started to see the damage that was being done by QAnons. So they decided, okay, we're going to step in and we're going to put a stop to this shit. We're going to put the brakes on this stuff. And that's what's going to happen. And there's going to be some unpleasant things happen to people. People aren't being able to hide anymore. You know, some people will go to jail, but some people are going to have their lives ruined in unexpected ways. So, I would buckle up, Buttercup. Grab the popcorn, grab the beer, find a nice comfortable place to sit and watch the show. Because 2021 is going to be one hell of a year. This is William K. Murtaugh, Witness 1. Have a good one.